So welcome to What Can Libby Do For You? We're going to look at how you can get access to digital books, audiobooks, magazines within the Libby app from all kinds of devices. So that's going to be our first topic, is what device can you use? There is a variety of them, and how that'll work will depend upon the device. So the Android and the Apple devices, you'll be able to download Libby directly to those. There are a couple different websites that you can use that I'll have later that you can access from your desktop or your laptop. And then there's also the dedicated e-readers that you can use. So the whole family of Kindle devices, some of those are a little bit easier than others. Nook is a little bit more challenging because you do have to use the Adobe Digital Editions to get items downloaded to it, and so it adds this extra step in the process. And then Kobo is an interesting dedicated e-reader in that it has the access to Overdrive, which is the parent company for Libby, already kind of built into it. So it makes it, you don't get the full functionality of it, but it still makes it a little bit easier to actually get access to the content. And so with anything, with any device, as you're making those choices, it's really going to depend upon what it is that you're going to be doing with it. So if you want to make sure that you can enlarge the text, then you might be looking for a device that has a bigger screen size. If you're going to be going audio only, then you might be worrying more about something that is portable and smaller. So you might be thinking, your phone is a good thing to get Libby downloaded onto it. Again, it all depends upon how you're going to be using it. So now, once you decide, okay, this is the device I'm going to be using, you're going to want to be able to get access to it. So a little bit news about the apps that come from Overdrive. First, they have decided to sunset their Overdrive app. So if you've had some longtime users of it, that app is no longer, the Overdrive app is no longer available in the Google or the Apple store. They have kept it in the Amazon App Store because they have not gotten official approval for the Libby app in Amazon yet. They are working on it. But like any new users will not be able to get the Overdrive app installed. If you are an existing user of it, you can still continue to use the Overdrive app. Functionality is not changing at this point. They're just not supporting it. They're not adding new features to it, but it'll still work. They do have plans to completely get rid of the Overdrive app by the end of 2022, so end of this year. That will be completely going away, and they're working throughout this year to get everybody switched over to Libby. So now here's where you're going to go, of course, depending upon your device. Apple, you're going to go out to the Apple Store. Google, you'll go out to Google Play. If you have a newer Kindle Fire, there is a workaround that you can actually get Libby installed on it. So you want to make note of this URL, and you're also going to have to be comfortable with unlocking your phone so that apps from non-trusted sources can be downloaded and installed. But again, there's directions out there, and we can help you with getting that done if you need to get the Libby app installed in there. But like I mentioned before, they still have the Overdrive app, even though they are sunsetting it, available for those Kindle users. I had briefly mentioned about the Nook, the fact that it's going to require this additional piece of software, the Adobe Digital Editions. So that software is installed on your computer. You are going out to through the web browser, going out to the Overdrive Libby app, whatever you want to choose to use, borrowing materials from there, uploading it to the Adobe Digital Editions, and then downloading it to your device. So like I said, a couple extra steps in there, but that's what you need in order to make that happen. What we're going to be looking at today and using as examples are the ways that we can access Libby or the Overdrive app from a web browser. So it has, if you're using the Overdrive app, the Overdrive website, which they're still giving access to everybody, they have no plans of getting rid of the website. Those line up and match as far as features and functions. And then if you're using Libby, then the libbyapp.com aligns with the Libby app on a mobile device. you'll find that between all of that, whether you're using the Overdrive app or the Libby app, there is some things that sync, but you get better synchronization if you stick with Libby to Libby and Overdrive to Overdrive if you're going to be using multiple devices. And so now we're going to switch to doing the live demo. And the very first thing that we're going to do once you get this installed or once you access it on the website is you're going to want to make sure that you have your library card installed. So I'm going to do most of the demoing in the Libby app because again, that's what they're transitioning everybody to. But when there is a feature that is not in Libby yet, I'll switch over to the Overdrive so that I can show you that feature. And there are a number of them that are in Overdrive currently that they're working on to get into Libby. So, very first thing we're going to do is, yes indeed, we have a library card. I'm going to search for a library. We are, of course, Marion Public, and we want to make sure that we are here in Ohio because there are a number of Marion Public libraries throughout the United States. In fact, there's even one in Australia, so we're here at the Ohio Digital Library. Now, if you have cards from multiple libraries, you can go to that step as many times as you need to, and you just search for that library. And then once you have it added into your account, you'll do the next step of actually signing in with your card. And once again, we've got to enter that we're a Marion Public Library. There are a number of consortiums, so a number of libraries that have gotten together. So depending upon which one you have your card from, you'll have to select that library. Here we are asking for that 4-digit PIN. So once I get that entered in and I'm authenticated, there is my card. And as you can see, I've already got a few items out and a few holds. Like I said, you can do this for if you've got, cards from different libraries, you can add those in. You will find overlap between what each collection has, but it is possible if the library is in a different consortium than what we are in, that you might have access to other materials that we do not, that we have not purchased. I'm going to skip this question about the Kindle, but if you are somebody who's using a Kindle device, this might be where, yes, I read with the Kindle that you're going to select that. Like I said, I am skipping it for right now. So now that we're signed in, we've got our library card added. Of course, the next very thing that we're gonna wanna do is get that audiobook or the book that we're interested in listening to or reading. And there are a number of different ways that we can go about doing this. They have what I'd like to consider to be like preset searches for you. And I'm gonna point out a couple of them that are kind of nice. So if you're just curious about, hey, what is new out there? You can click on the just added and get that list. I like this available now, and that's the one I'm gonna click on. The reason I like this is because it is only showing me items. It's not cooperating. It's only showing me items that I can actually borrow right now. So I'm not worrying about, is there a wait list and how long do I have to wait for it? So it's, again, a very nice kind of preset to this. And of course, here it is showing me lots and lots of results. And so instead of having well over 100,000 items have come up that are available in here, right? We have lots. So instead of going through every single one of these to figure out what might be of interest to me, I'm gonna go ahead and refine from here. And so I can say, I only want audiobooks. That's what I'm interested in. I can say that, I really like mysteries. And now I've taken that over 100,000 results, and now I have just over 4,000. Again, a really large set, but it has narrowed it down much more and is much more focused on what I am interested in. And I can keep doing that. as much as I wanted to make this result set exactly what I'm interested in. Now, I did refine. Refine is only going to impact this particular set of results. So it's only in this one instance. If I had a preference of, say, always wanting audiobooks, I can come over to this preferences, and maybe I can, let's try and see, there we go. I can come to preferences and I can say, instead of any format, that I only want audiobooks. If that's the only thing that I'm going after, I can say that and then apply this. And now that preferences means that anytime that I'm in here, any kind of search I do, it is always going to be set to that. So you're always going to get what you want if that's a particular format. I'm going to, just for example purposes, I'm going to go ahead and take that off. And again, there's other options that we have in there that we can set if we're always going to be going after a particular type or audience level or subject matter, whatever it might be. So now that we've kind of narrowed down these results set, borrowing an item is pretty straightforward. Like I said, these are all things that I can borrow. So I can come up right to this little icon here and click on it. It's going to tell me how many copies are available, and I can go ahead and say borrow to it. And again, a few, it lied to me.
It does that.
In an instant, right? Look what it did. It had this icon when we looked at it to begin with, and now it is to its hold status icon within that minute. So somebody must have beat me to that one and only copy in those few seconds there. Let's try Stephen King. We should have better luck here. With 4 copies, we should actually be able to go through the borrow process. There we go. And so now I can keep browsing. I can go to my shelf, which we'll come to later, but I have that item within my own little shelf and area that I can access it. So, like I said, there's different formats in here. What's good to know is if you are borrowing any magazines, that actually doesn't count towards your limit of items borrowed. So it's up to, I think, 20 at this point, so it doesn't count in there. And the other thing that's nice about borrowing magazines is that there's no hold list with those. So it'll, the latest issue to however far back they keep will be available to you. But the books and the audiobooks do have those potential hold lists to it. So I mentioned before I borrowed that item. It's going to be in my shelf area. So if I had listened to an hour of that and I had to go to work, or I had to go pick up the kids, or I needed to do whatever, and I wanted to pick it up back later, where I'm going to go to is my shelf. And it is the stack of books here, that icon. And so it shows me all the items that I have out currently, and here I would be able to click and continue. I would be able to pick back up wherever it was that I left off at on any one of those items. This is also the area that if I had, as an example up here, if I had placed something on hold and now it's ready for me to read it or listen to it, I can go here and say, borrow this item. The other nice thing is that if I'm like, as you can see, I have a few items that are out already, and I really need to be finishing up my downrange because it's due in a day. I'm close, I'm almost there. and I'm like, I just can't start another book right now, even though this one is ready for me. So I can click on deliver later, and I can say, you know what, I've got all those other books out, so it would be good if in 2 weeks, and you can adjust that time, that that item, that hold will come back up for me. So what it does is it keeps your spot in line, but it just delays when you are going to be able to borrow it until later. Again, it's a really nice feature to help you manage, oh gosh, I've got 2 that I'm listening to already, let me wait on this one, but still hold my place. The other thing that's here in the shelf is this tags, and this is something that they have developed and help you to organize your items. So if you have some like favorite audiobooks that you just enjoyed so much that you might want to come back to at a later date and listen to again, you could create a favorites tag, and for each one of those that were your favorites, you can add it in there, and then you'll always be able to have that list available from here. The other thing that you can do here is that they've created a wish list. It's not showing up. You can create a tag that says wish list, and then the specific reason that that was developed was because of this sunsetting of the Overdrive app. If in the Overdrive app you have items that you want, that you've been saving to read or listen to later, you can tag them on wish list, and that's going to then sync to here. And I don't have it showing, which is kind of curious. I can go in and change the name of the tags. I can go in and delete them if I don't want it. But again, it's just a nice way for you to organize your books in whatever manner that you want to. All right, so wish list is actually a very nice lead-in to my next question on how we do stuff. So before I showed you how we went through the preset searches to find books, so this time I'm going to go ahead and do an actual search. And here I can look for a title, author, a topic. So I'm going to do my favorite, maybe not my favorite, but seems to be my go-to. I'm going to look for gluten-free. I want to cook something new tonight, so I need to find a new recipe. So I'm going to come out here and look at the cookbooks. And again, you can see that some of them are available, some of them are waitlisted. If I just wanted to make, if I was just browsing through, maybe I wasn't quite ready to use these, but I found a couple that looked interesting to me and I wanted to save them for later, I can go ahead and do like this is a really good one for me because it has both the gluten-free and the dairy-free. So I can come in here and call a wish list or cookbooks or whatever it is that I want to do, and tag those items, and then I can keep going. However many of those, like I said, that wish list tag is specific, and there's words and written together just like that. It is letting people sync from within the Overdrive app to the Libby app, again, helping in that transition. So that is how, if I'm doing a search like this, that I want to save these for later, or if I'm browsing through and I'm like, oh, that looks really good, but I'm already listening to you, you can save it in that manner for you to look back at a later date. And again, that's accessible now, right within your tags. You can see those items. All right, so for the next thing, say you're going through and you search for an author or a book and you discover that we actually don't have it. So they have the ability to make recommendations. We see that, and so if we get a lot of recommendations for a book, then we can potentially purchase it. This is a feature that's going to be coming to the Libby app, so I'm going to switch over to Overdrive because it is already in there. And so you're going to get to see this sign-in process. Again, same kind of thing. directly already to the Ohio Digital Library, so I'm gonna have, I won't have to select which library I am from because it already knows. So once I'm signed in here, I'm gonna go ahead and do a search. I'll do the same gluten-free example. So now if I'm looking through here and somebody recommended a cookbook to me, and they recommended this second one here, gluten-free by Ace McLeod. As you can see at the top it says not owned, so I can come down here and click on this recommend, and now I can see more. And so now it sent that recommendation in that, hey, this is an item I'm interested in, you should go ahead and purchase this, and you'd be notified if it happens to get purchased or not. Like I said, this is something that's coming to the Libby app, but right now is only accessible through the website or the Overdrive app. And then my last bit, I'm going back to Libby for this. When they first made the transition to these icons that's at the bottom, they took away the labels. And
They're in there.
yes, but you have to turn it on.
Yes.
Right? And that's the thing that I heard from a lot of people. I'm like, I want the labels back. So how we get those labels back? We're gonna come here to our menu. So 3 lines or 3 dots often signify a menu. So we're gonna come into the menu. This is also, that menu is where if we would need to add in other libraries after we did the initial one, we'd come here to do that as well. And if I have been using the Overdrive app and have wish list items there, I can come in here and do the sync so that my Libby app has that same information. Again, if you have that set up in Overdrive, it is something that you want to do before it goes away so that you don't lose anything. But the other thing that that we can do in here is go to the settings, and here in customize navigation, I can put those labels back on. So if you have a hard time determining, gosh, which one is the shelf again? You can label it so that you can see the shelf is the stack of 2 books. The other thing, if you are not a fan of, a whole bunch of notifications, you can also come in here and determine what kind of notifications you receive. So if you don't want to know when your hold's elapsing, you can just ignore that. If you want to get an email notification when you have a hold ready, you can make that an email notification. So you can adjust how they're communicating with you to whatever level of communication you prefer. I always like it whenever they let us decide when they should be communicating with us. It's a nice feature. All right, I'm gonna point this out that it is gonna keep track of your history. Some people really like that because they're like, oh, what was that book that I read? So here's a spot that you can go back to. Now the thing about history, of course, it's only gonna start from the point in which you have installed the app and have created your first access to it. So if you have switched devices, it's possible, it's not possible, you are going to lose that history of it. Now, what I have found is that on the particular device, because again, you've changed devices itself, it's not there, but if you come back out to a browser and access your account there, then you will see the full history. But again, it's a nice feature, and this is also something in the settings that you can turn off. If you don't want your history kept for whatever reason, you can choose to turn that off. So at this point, that is my quick run through of what Libby can do for you. So thank you all for attending, and please don't hesitate to ask us if you have any questions.